There is this scene in the movie, and this is actually how it
Yeah.
happened. Sometime in the 40s, Nash was at a bar in Princeton, and he was observing these social dynamics, and he noticed that all these men were competing for the attention of one woman in a group of women. And he really noticed the power that that gave that particular woman, and also noticed the fact that how all these men were sort of competing with one another, and so as a result, none of them had any chance with anybody. They were going to remain in this constant competition. So he had this insight around coordinating their approach and going after different women to find a partner, and came up with this whole theory around non-cooperative games where people make decisions independently, but reach a stable outcome where no player wants to change their strategy. So
Mm.
that's sort of the body of his work, and it came to be known as the Nash equilibrium. So it's one of the most important ideas in game theory. And it just describes the situation where, given what everybody else is doing, no player can improve their outcome by only changing their strategy, even when that equilibrium is not in the best interests of all of the players.
Mm.
And one of the most famous examples of this is the prisoner's dilemma. So here's the idea. So I'm going to take you through the concept of the prisoner's dilemma. And this here is a game board. This is sort of a traditional Nash equilibrium game board, and we have two players. And I stayed up all night last night trying to figure out their names, and really came up with some that I think are going to stick with people.
I know I'm
And
gonna love it. I love it.
we're gonna call the first one A. So A, and then the second one, we'll
I'm gonna
call.
guess. I think we're gonna call him B.
No, of course not. Come on, we got to have a little bit of creativity in here. We'll call him Bartholomew.
Oh, there you go.
But we're
Oh,
just going to
B for shit.
do B for short. So we've got A and Bartholomew, and they were out, and they went and they robbed a bank. Okay, so this is the idea. They went and they robbed a bank, and they have, and you know how in police dramas they go and they rob a bank. What do they always do? I mean, when the police arrest you,
Oh, put them in separate rooms and start
put them
interrogating
in separate
them.
rooms, and they ask some questions about the other one, right?
Interrogation.
And this comes directly out of this work. And the idea is that you have these two people, they did it, they know they did it, everybody knows they did it, but you don't really have enough evidence to charge them completely. Maybe you have them on enough evidence to give them a parking violation, but not enough for the bank heist, right? So so you put them in separate rooms, and you set up a situation in which they are competing with each other, and each one of them has a choice, right? So they can either remain silent, all right? So we can call that silent, or not talking, or they can talk. Now, here's the thing: if they both stay silent, then they end up with that draconian parking issue, and they each get a year in jail. But then the police make an offer to A. They say, if you talk and B doesn't talk, you get 0 and B gets 5. And they make the same offer to B. They say, if you don't talk and A talks, you get 0 and A gets 5. And then if you both talk, you both get 3, because now there's like this shared guilt. So you can see that A has an incentive to talk, because if they talk, then they go from 1 to 0. And if B talks, they go from 1 to 0. So both of them have an incentive to talk. And because of this, they will both talk. And that means that the Nash equilibrium is here in this quadrant, where they both end up with 3 years. And that's the point. The optimum solution is for them to stay silent, but the police create an incentive for them to talk. And that incentive drives them both to talk, which drives to this Nash equilibrium situation, even though that isn't the optimal solution for both parties. There is a better solution. They're better off staying silent,
All day, every day.
but they're going to talk. And that is the point of the prisoner's dilemma, is that it drives you to this action that may not be the best action, but it is the equilibrium point. Now, the way out of this